a fire. Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another wonderful episode of Making an Impact with myself, the foe, Cody the foe. Apparently, I don't get my name today. Astrid has decided we're nameless.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, though, this is my wonderful co-host, the natural.
Dang it. I tried. Keep forgetting. Dang it.
You'll get it eventually, one of these days. We're only on episode 6. It takes 7 to get form a routine, right?
That's a lot of pressure.
How are you tonight, Astrid? How do you enjoy the show?
I'm good now that the storm Nicole's over and I've got power and you're not alone tonight.
Yeah, I'm not alone. You've got power. You've got internet. Your house still looks like it's standing. I mean, it's a good day.
Yeah, I'm good. I had a day off of work, so I got to rest today. Better
Yeah,
for me. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good. It's been an interesting week, and unfortunately, I don't get the day off for the holiday tomorrow. But it's gonna be a fun weekend. We've got the rodeo in town, so I just want to pop into the comments there, say hello to all of our friends who have joined us for the show. Barry, thanks for stopping in again. Always nice to see you here. Our friend Ed, again, not on the backstage for us as he decided to go watch Wakanda Forever tonight. So we're just going to ban him from the chat so that we get no spoilers while we're going through this show. Happy to see Mel and Bobby popping in, though. Always nice to see our friends, our local establishment, OLE. If you're not already following them, they just dropped themselves in the Twitch channel there. Definitely give them a check out. They're a bunch of good friends of ours, and we're always happy to support our friends.
Yeah, very true. And I wanted to go back to this one. Thank you, Ed. I finally got affiliate yesterday, I think it was, because I got it while I was working. So I'm waiting for that to go through. I don't know if you'll get ads tonight or not. I don't know how that works. I'm still learning on that end of it. So sorry if it happens. But yeah.
I mean, on that end, if you did want to avoid the ads, you should be able to give Astrid a subscription here. We'd appreciate the support for the show and for Astrid, and that way you can watch us ad free for all of the show.
Very true.
Just want to double check before we jump in, Astrid. You watched Before the Impact as well tonight, right?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I watched so much I wanted to watch.
So I guess, as I knock my phone or my computer, let's start there. Before the Impact, mostly just recap shows always, but we usually get one match. This one was one that we were looking forward to from last week, as we did get Killer Kelly on the show, taking on the fresh blood from last week, who I don't think we caught her name last week, but officially now she is Sandra Moon. You are the knockouts expert here, Astrid. I'll let you tell us what you thought of this first.
I mean, even though she was fresh meat, I was waiting for that kind of squash match of like it'll end in 5 minutes. It was not it, which I'm glad it wasn't at the same time. I love how Sandra just gave it to Killer Kelly, even after everything. Just like you don't expect that to happen, but I love how even with everything that she gave to Killer Kelly, Kelly still had a smile on her face while everything was happening. So I thought that was pretty amazing in her character to see that, and it was a good back and forth for me. I like that it's the first time I watched Sandra wrestle, so it was a good introduction for me. Nonetheless, even after everything with Killer Kelly, but overall good match, and obviously Killer Kelly gets the win at the end. Did you have any thoughts about it?
Yeah, like the big thing I took down was it was a lot of offense for Sandra, and that was not what I was expecting. I was definitely expecting it to be a Killer Kelly squash, eating the fresh meat and spitting it out. But she gave a lot. This felt almost like it could have been a Sandra Moon squash match, that she was just giving it and giving it and giving it, and every time Killer Kelly got a single move in, Sandra was squashing her right back down again. That said, it put over Sandra Moon in a way as to how quality she is in the ring, but it also showed a lot of Killer Kelly's ability to take a beating and go for a longer style of match. We haven't really seen that. I mean, the Tasha Steelz match with her went a decent length of time. I almost felt like this felt comparable in terms of how long it felt like it ran, but it was still over in a snap. And that, I think that was the point of the match here, was just to show how quickly you can beat her and beat her and beat her, and she'll just laugh off all of the pain and punishment you're inflicting on her, and then grab you and choke you out.
Yeah, I love you can see more of her character in the match more than anything. This is what I wanted and what I wanted be highlighted during this match. So just like it feels like even with the fresh meat and somebody who she doesn't know how they're gonna be in the ring because she's not somebody that we see on a weekly basis, she still got to her and still got the victory in the end. So either way, good introduction for me to for Sandra. So I'm hoping that she maybe they sign her or she's part of the Knockouts division some type of way for the time being because I would like to see more from her.
Yeah, it sounded like she was a local talent while they were filming in Vegas that they brought in. So hopefully it was a good exposition. I know they talked about it a little bit throughout the match that she kind of got her first exposure to the Impact Wrestling, the company as a whole, when they were in Vegas a few years back, and she just offered to work as a ring crew to kind of get herself in the door. And so it's always nice to see when people who start off just working hard and doing whatever they can, whatever low level grunt jobs they have to do to get in the door, actually get a chance to prove that they're more than just a low level grunt. The other thing though was for this to be Killer Kelly's comeback match after taking those weeks off since the loss to Tasha Steelz was a big surprise. It was definitely not what I thought we'd see, not how you typically see somebody come back after taking a big loss to come back and, almost be squashed and put in their place for the entirety of a match. Usually you'd want to come back with a big dominating win. So it surprised me in that sense that we would come back with a match that wasn't really putting her over as looking strong or dangerous. It makes her look unpredictable and a little crazed, but it doesn't make her look like a threat to go into a title match anytime soon.
Yeah, I didn't think about it from that point of view, but yeah, that's a good point to bring up as well.
We went before the Impact into the main show. Just started off with the typical normal recaps from last week's show, all of the new stuff we saw. So VBD bringing out Khan and Angels. We saw the Chelsea Green and Mickie setup. We saw the Jordynne Grace and Gisele setup. Saw a little bit of clips from the Aussie Open versus Frankie and Josh match. And then my favorite part of the night, because we opened the show with Joe Hendry.
Don't get too excited. Calm down.
252 pounds of pure motivation and the answer to all life's problems. Joe Hendry, local hero. And then just to ruin my mood, we had to get the most professional wrestler, Brian Myers, with Matt Cardona. Obviously, seeing Cardona come out with Myers, I know we were both excited for this match when it was announced last week. Something we hadn't really thought of, but seemed like it fits so perfectly with Joe Hendry's character. Seeing Cardona come out with Myers definitely made me think we were going into this match just expecting that Myers was going to lie, cheat, steal, do whatever he had to keep his title. It ended up being a pretty solid match. Cardona got himself involved really early. Just kind of being a distraction. He never really touched him or anything, but he was there. He was cheering on from the side, and whenever they would go outside, he was there as a distraction. And then Heath and Rhino came out to nullify that distraction, chase him backstage, and very quickly after that, now the biggest thing I saw out of this was it was a change for Hendry. It was a nice change for Hendry to see him have to mix up his offense and try and deal with someone who was actually a little bit more prepared for him and had some counters. I loved the variation of the standing ovation he hit, though, to finish the match, how Myers ran into it and he caught him, put him up and put him back down. It was a really, really nice way to go about that. What did you think of the match?
Yeah, overall, another thing that I like that they pointed out in commentary is that they said that Brian passed Cardona's reign as digital media champion. And he had the longest reign so far. But I like more than anything, we got to see Joe's strength through this whole match. It was incredible to watch. And I love how that offense that he had going on, and even going to Cardona and try to take care of Cardona for a moment before getting back into Myers as well. So I expected something to happen there. I thought, I hope Cardona doesn't help Myers win this match, because I feel like Joe is such a roll right now. I didn't want him to lose in any way. So I was excited when, Heath and Rhino came up and just took him out so that way Joe could win the match. And it makes sense. It's just something that we were talking about even since we started watching and doing the show. Joe has a great charisma, and he connects with the crowd so much, and it makes sense to get him this type of championship at the moment to build him up even further in his character. So just it to me it clicked once I saw the announcement. Like it definitely made sense. And I just wanted to go to Barry's comment. He says, "See John Henry and Mid Cardona together. They look similar." Um, but yeah, I think it was interesting the timing of the way they just a couple of weeks of him just getting that championship already. So I'm just hoping he has more time with it and he passes Myers and Cardona's reigns. Please, at least I hope so.
I mean, it would be nice to see him get that time to really put this title over. It's still the low card title. It's still something nobody's taking really seriously. Obviously, Cardona tried to put it over as the Digital Media World Championship, but that didn't go very far. It's a nice title to give to somebody who's come in and made such an impact so early in their Impact career that this is only his third televised match. He had his one against Hotch, he had his one against Raj Singh, and now he's a champion. And that says a lot about a guy to come in and be that quickly holding a title belt. So let's hope he really runs with this title belt. Obviously, Hannafin has said a couple different times on commentary, like something just isn't right. I don't trust him. I don't believe, like, not that he doesn't believe him. How can you not believe in Joe Hendry? But Hannafin definitely has that rub that he doesn't feel like it's all on the up and up. So will be interesting to see if he holds it for an extended period, if we see a heel turn come out of this, or if we just see him continue to get over as a true babyface, because he's really running with it right now. And I think anyone who watched Joe Hendry outside of Impact before he came here knows that he kind of toes that line where everybody loves him, but they love him for being a bad guy. I do want to point out, I did take one specific note out of that standing ovation from Joe Hendry, though. Brian Myers took that standing ovation like the most professional loser.
That's a first.
We got a quick video package from Gisele Shaw and Jay Vidal talking about the match tonight. I guess Jay, as her social commentary guru, expert, whatever hype man that he is, put together a fancy video package for them to share with the world when she wins the title tonight. It was all clips of all of the different times in the past that somebody's been talking up and praising somebody else, and they just, every time somebody would say a name, they would insert the overlapped words with Gisele Shaw.
I didn't. I made me laugh though. It was unexpected. I was waiting for the when did this happen kind of thing, and then once you hear the overall, I was like, oh, I got it. But I like how they did it, and just at the end of having that package, it was really well done though. I really enjoyed just watching it, and I know obviously we'll talk about that later, but she didn't get the final shot that she needed to complete the video package. But just the video package itself, even without that, was really well done. I liked it.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I found it quite hilarious to watch, particularly the part from Awesome Kong's retirement where they had Gail Kim on there. You know, often imitated, never duplicated. There will never be another Gisele Shaw. It's perfect. It was perfect. We got a VBD package as well. Actually, before I move on to that, just Barry's comment saying basically what we both agree on here is that the type of silly stuff that Impact does so well.
Yeah, very true.
I did enjoy, just, it was very simple, and it was a nice way to just include Violent by Design on the show. Just a quick package from the members of Violent by Design backstage. Eric Young telling us that the return of violence is upon us, introducing Angels and Khan as they are going to be known now. No longer Alan Angels. He apparently has lost his first name through the WWE name replicator. And Khan as the new big man and enforcer for the group. They both got a couple words in, nothing that really stood out as meaningful or really making any kind of suggestion as to what their reasoning was, other than just being violent. And then just Eric, that the world belongs to violence and the new era is upon us. Did you have anything that stood out from that?
Yeah, I like when Alan's part came up and he said he used to be in a darker place, and I was like, I see what you did there. I miss it though. Don't break my heart like this, but And just for me, it's just hard to see Khan doing this because I'm used to seeing him as like the rag guy from NXT with the cheese and the Rio backstage. I can't unsee that. So every time I see him, I don't see this like big guy, like guy that's gonna be violent or anything like that. So it's gonna take a little bit for me to get used to see him in this light, to be honest. But other than that, I love that line from Ellen though, how he pointed out. He's like, I used to be in this third place and now I'm not. And how Iwa just mentioned he tried to do the same with Sammy, just open his eyes to the violence part of it. But he's gonna learn his lesson sooner or later. But
Yeah.
other than that, pretty well done for me.
Somebody's going to learn their lesson sooner or later based on what we learned later in the night, but we'll get to that. We had our first kind of big match of the night. Trey Miguel versus Speedball Mike Bailey, part 3. This match deserved to have a bigger stage. The ending, I can understand why it was on Impact based on the ending. This match was fantastic. It was everything we've come to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome, Mark. Thanks for joining us. How are you tonight? Trey Miguel and Speedball, obviously, they talked about it even on commentary that these two are kind of the standard bearers for the X Division and the new generation of the X Division. They really showed it. They had a very fast start to the match, just a lot of flips and tricks and dodges and reversals and counters and everything that you come to enjoy in an X Division match. And then as they started to really get into it, we got the return of the King. As Kenny King comes waltzing down right before a commercial break. And then we come back from the commercial break and Kenny's just sitting at ringside with a bucket of popcorn, booing the match.
And as Barry points out, Bailey lost the match, but I like the part with the popcorn though, because I think one of the fans gave him the popcorn because I saw the fans kind of leaning over and then he had the popcorn in his hands, but from the angle it was hard to tell. But I love that end, seeing that little bit of piece in there.
Yeah, no, it was just a great X Division match. I didn't take much for notes of the entire match because it was just a lot of the typical tips and tricks and what they do. It's I don't want to necessarily give it all away. If you've seen an X Division match and you like them, you would like it there too. The Poison Rana to the outside though was nasty. I think both men executed it excellently, but it looked vicious just the way that it was taken. And then Kenny King standing up with the popcorn and throwing it in Speedball's face. Just going back to Barry's point though, I did feel like we had to get to some point here where Speedball was going to end up getting. They were playing up the fact that he never took the rematch clause that he was supposed to have, and the fact that he was willing to fight for it, and we were playing it up that he was a fighting champion and he's a fighting challenger, and he only just lost the title. That it does seem like it would be too quick to just flip it back to him, to literally give it to Kazarian to cash an option C and then just give it right back to Bailey again. So I like that we're getting more of a story out of this. I think the Kenny King stuff fits really well, that Kenny's still just bitter and mad about last week and losing to Mike in the first round, since this is supposed to be his time. There was a couple other spots that I did make a note of though, and I think the one was right before the finish, where Speedball on the outside hit the ultimate weapon on the ribs of Trey Miguel while he was laying down on the outside. That move, I don't care how you take it. I don't care how effective it is one way or the other. It always looks painful as hell. I don't ever want anybody to do a backflip and drive their knees into my ribs like that. Thank you, but no. And then Kenny King showing his wily veteran and just sneaky side, wanting to screw Mike Bailey out of the match. So instead, he just, as Bailey slides back into the ring, he attacks Trey Miguel. Oops. I guess Trey wins now. Sorry, Mike.
That sorry couldn't sound more Canadian from you. Yeah, it's.
I did. The last note I had on this match was clever, King.
Now, between this match and the main event, these were my two favorite matches of the night. Holy crap. I knew this match was going to be good, but I didn't know it was going to be this good either. Like, this is like almost like pay-per-view type of like match that you see. So it's not something that I expected to get on a weekly show. But they have times when I like when they pointed out at first, they have Trey has the win over Speedball from before, and the Speedball Kenny in the tournament, so that's why Speedball's here. So when you see Kenny, it does make sense when you see him because they already pointed out in commentary that he's the one that lost to Speedball in the tournament. So it's nice you have that connection. If you didn't watch it before, you have that connection there for you. Um, but yeah, he hit. I know he did a punt kick and a moonsault and Speedball to Trey. That was nasty to watch as well. Um, and I like how he was holding onto the ropes and when he did that double kick like that to Trey, I was like, that hurt my chest as if I was the one taking it. Holy moly. I couldn't deal with it when I saw it. Um, but I like that end of like Kenny being like, oh, I lost to you, but I'm going to make you lose in a different way. And instead of obviously hitting Speed, also he wins the match, he'll hit Trey. So Trey wins it. So at the same time, I feel like in a way it protects Speedball from his rematch in the end as well, because you can just easily say, look, I lost the match by DQ. It wasn't my fault. So I can easily still get a rematch sometime in the future, perhaps we're kind of using that excuse later on. Um,
Yeah.
and just not only that, but it gives Speedball to have that rivalry with Kenny to kind of keep him busy while we have something going on with the Exhibition Championship, which is now going to be Trey versus the winner between PJ Black or Black Taurus. So either way, it's still interesting to take whoever wins this one, which I'm excited about.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be fun for sure. We had the Jessica first segment backstage here. Did you have anything that stood out from that one?
No, I like how Rosemary just was kind of like giving her that push. She was like, you saw that anger that you have and everything you're feeling inside, and just when you take on Tasha next week, just take that out on her. And she like didn't seem so convinced, but Taya didn't say much. It was just Rosemary being that cheering her in that type of way. So I like seeing that. It was interesting that Taya didn't have any words to say of encouragement. And just like everything you have, just take it out on her. You'll be
Well,
fine.
you had Taya was the one that suggested maybe you should just go for a drink. And
Yeah.
Rosemary's like, no drinking. Like, just relax, plan. You're going to get your revenge. We're going to fight Tasha Steeles next week. You're going to get your chance to take this all out and get your win back. And it's just, we've all had losses here and there. It's not a big deal that you lost this match. You move on and keep going. And Jessica just kind of sulks away. And I think she said as she's walking away, like, maybe I do need a drink. Just a very quick segment of Deonna and Chelsea getting ready as well, right before a commercial break, I think it was. I didn't pick anything up from that. Did you?
No, I would just start telling her that she can basically take on Mickie. It was nothing like out of the ordinary. So I thought
Okay.
they would have said something to her that would stick out, but nothing really did.
Yeah, no. Then we came back from the break and we got Kenny King kind of explaining his actions. That he came into the tournament last week expecting that this was his tournament. He was going to win. I'm not sure about Taya. I definitely thought Rosemary looked like she was ready to go trick or treating or something because she had a purse that looked like a butcher's axe. And it was very weird. Like at first I thought it was actually supposed to be an axe with just like flimsy like a prop axe, but then I realized like it was a clutch with a handle and then the axe blade was the purse.
I don't know how to answer this. Really, so
So it's very possible that this was filmed around Halloween or with the intention that this was all going to be happening around Halloween. Because, I mean, just in general, Rosemary's typically looks like she's dressed for Halloween. So
I was gonna say that too. So that's why I didn't know how to answer it.
back to Kenny King talking about how he was expecting to win the match or win the tournament. He came in, he had like belief in himself. He was abiding by all of like the mission statement of Honor No More, which is interesting that he brought that up for sure, since we haven't really addressed his leaving of Honor No More yet. So still some loose ends hanging around there. I did take down the note though, like he mentioned during the match against Mike Bailey last night, he saw something, or last week, he saw something in Bailey.
Mhm.
And I didn't completely follow his train of thought, but then he started talking about like he's like Morpheus exposing all the fake tricks in the Matrix, and he can't focus on getting to the X Division title until he exposes Mike Bailey. Did you take anything more away from it than that?
No, I only took that note, but he said he was exposed to all the fakes. So I thought that was interesting of like somebody like Speedball who seems really like honest with his character on screen. So when he said that, I was like, I wonder what's going on here. But it goes back to the point that I was saying, just like it's just a way to keep them both busy until we get an X Division champion, and then from there, one of them's gonna end up facing whoever wins it. But like you said, and I thought about also what he mentioned. I don't know more. I'm thinking that's interesting when you were basically in the background and just didn't say much about it, and it's just like Eddie Edwards and PCO, and just forget Kenny King was in Honor No More, but you still brought it up. So I thought that point was interesting too. Like, oh, I'm gonna follow the mission statement. So he's still having that in his mindsets, even with the breakup part.
Yeah, for sure. It's always nice to see secondary programs happening, no matter what the division, the knockouts, the X division, the lower card, the mid card, upper card, all of it. Just being able to see stories develop that don't have to have the title belt involved. And the X division, I feel like, has been a little bit lackluster in those secondary stories that we've spent a lot of time lately. First as Trey Miguel as the champion, and then Ace Austin as the champion, and then Mike Bailey as the champion, and we haven't got a ton of secondary. So this tournament coming out of the option C now has allowed us that we've got Trey Miguel going into a match at Overdrive against the winner of either Black Taurus or PJ Black next week. We've got Kenny King and Mike Bailey going at it, and then we've still got enough moving pieces in and around there as well that you could have other things going on too, that it opens up a lot more possibility in the X division again.
And I feel we still haven't found out who took out Ace in the parking lot as well. So just I feel like we could revisit that later because they didn't say anything tonight.
Yeah. No, there was nothing. There was no Bullet Club on the show at all tonight. So definitely still more loose ends there.
Mm-hmm.
We had a Bhupinder Gujjar match, which was nice to see. Gujjar's been away for a couple weeks. I don't think we've seen him since the followed episode after Bound for Glory, if I remember.
I think so.
Because he had the match with Myers after eliminating Myers in the Collier shot, and then he's been kind of off TV now for 4 weeks. So nice to see him back again. I'm a fan. I've enjoyed his development. I think he's got a lot of raw skill and raw talent that he's really improving the more we see him on TV. So I'm enjoying having him around. Tonight he faced Sharpe, who I'm not familiar with. Are you familiar with Sharpe?
No, that's funny. The first time I watched him, and he didn't do a whole lot for me to like interest me going forward. The way it happened with Sandra earlier in BTI, so I was curious about him and his background there because I don't think I even heard much of his background or anything, and in the commentary at least, it was just mostly talking about Bhupinder. So to me, he was like, okay, that's his name, and that's it. That's all I got from it.
Yeah, I saw he was promoting this match on his Twitter, so I saw him on there that apparently he goes by Gregory Sharpe other places, so I don't know why he just shortened to G. Excuse me. Why he just shortened to G this week for this match, but I thought he looked decent. He didn't look awful. But Gujjar definitely looked amazing, and we haven't had a ton of time to talk about Gujjar, but I always have to point out how much I love his gargoyle spear. And also tonight he had new music, which I thought was a really nice touch for him.
Yeah, and like Barry says, from what I saw, I was impressed with Sharpe. To me, he didn't do a lot. I was more impressed with Bhupinder because I got to see a little bit more from him, the speed, the power. Really well done. I was impressed with him, but I just want to see more from Sharpe to see how it goes with him because I wasn't entirely sure.
Yeah, I would be okay with seeing more Sharpe. I feel like this was definitely a match to just put Bhupinder over, but there's a lot of open space to have people grow and become a mainstay on the roster, that any of these people that we're seeing come in for these matches against whether it be Killer Kelly, whether it be Bhupinder Gujjar, whether it be someone like Amasha Slamovich, the squash matches, the one that Tasha Steeles lost 2 weeks ago. There's lots of talent out there in all the different divisions and lots of space and impact for people to really make a name for themselves and grow and become stars. We had a Heath and Rhino promo. At least I think it was a promo. because mid promo, Rhino just happened to see Josh Alexander standing in front or sitting down in front of them and walks off from the promo to go tell Josh Alexander that Bully Ray's a piece of. Apparently, we're still on this. Everybody in the company needs to tell Josh Alexander what they think of Bully Ray.
It's like he hasn't heard it enough, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it again.
Yep.
And again. And again. Like, it's like I know the pay-per-view is next week, so I'm hoping this is the end of it, please, because I'm just tired of them saying the same thing all over again. You said it in so many ways. We get it. I think he heard you guys too. Everybody that came up to him, they're all veterans, so he's gonna listen to all of them mostly. That's it. I don't want any more of this.
This one was interesting to me though, because it not Rhino who stood in the middle of the ring at Collier's Shot and had the whole big ECW reunion celebration with Dreamer and Bully?
Well, ECW is more important, but he's doing a bunch of shit.
I'm still not sold, Ed. I don't know that Josh is the guy that turns here. I think Josh is the guy that gets Bully to turn, if anything. That Josh is just going to spend the entire time being afraid of watching over his shoulder and waiting for Bully to turn on him. That he's going to see Bully coming and expect he's coming to swing. He's going to take the first shot. And then Bully's going to be like, you know what? I tried. It failed. Now I'm just going to take your title.
I just have to be Barry's comment. Sorry, I think we both click on it at the same time. The more I see, the more I think Bully has turned over a new leaf. He's innocent.
He is innocent. Look at that. He had a table in the ring tonight and didn't even use it. But I'm jumping ahead of myself. Quick spot of just Mickie getting ready for her match. I don't think there was anything really to discuss there. And then we got back to Jessica backstage drinking a Pabst Blue Ribbon. Not sponsored, but I'm going to mention it anyhow because she made sure to point the label out. And I think PBR actually is a sponsor of Impact. We get Alicia Edwards, of all people, coming up, deciding to, talk to her about how it's going. Jessica has clearly had more than the one PBR because she starts going off about talking about going to the Thunder Down Under and seeing the real Aussie Open.
Oh, gosh.
And then Lish with Eddie. Thoughts on all that?
I really thought this was a commercial at first. The way she was going up with the book, because the book is ODB's book, if I'm not mistaken. I thought I saw ODB's picture on the cover. But just like between that and the beer, I just thought this was a commercial at first. I was just waiting for it to end. And then I see Eddie afterwards. I'm just like, oh, so it's not a commercial. Good to know. But I like the way that she played it off. But I like that part with Eddie and Alicia, though. Just bringing that up because I felt like even after the interview, we didn't get anything from her regarding the interview, any reaction whatsoever. So I'm glad we finally got to see that. And he was like, well, you told me between you and Honor No More. I picked you. And even I took up PCO last week. So, we're good now. But yeah, I thought the way this was, I guess, all collected together. And I thought this was a commercial until I saw Eddie. They really got me with this one. I was going to forward it in the live because I was a little behind. I was like, oh, never mind. Eddie's there. Rewind.
Yeah, I mean, the way she questioned him and called him out, like, it doesn't feel like this is over. Like, he's telling her it's over, and he says it's over, but it doesn't feel like it's over. And then he makes the comment to her about it being just the two of them, and she's his ride or die. But then he walks away from her and leaves her standing there like, ride or die? What?
Yeah.
Very awkward situation. The whole Eddie and Lish stuff feels really weird to me. It feels like we're not making any progress on that story, and it's been going for a couple months for sure now, if not more. Like, I think we're closing in on almost the year mark since his turn and joining of Honor No More and this all starting. So hoping to see us get something with that so that we can just move on from it. I don't know. It's not doing anything for me, for sure. I mean, I enjoy Eddie. I don't necessarily need him to go on holiday for 6 months, but I feel like Lish hasn't been doing much other than just being a distraction to Eddie. So either she can start wrestling some more or she can take a 6-month holiday.
I feel bad because I feel like I sometimes forget that she wrestles just because we see her like maybe once or twice and then nothing happens and then it just keeps happening that way. So I kind of forget that she wrestles at times because of it because we don't see her often doing it.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you take the lead on the next match because I feel like it's one that you were looking the most forward to this week.
Yeah, this was another one that I really, really enjoyed as after the main event and Trey and Speedball from the beginning. Uh, they give us a little bit of background story of like Chelsea is the one that basically initiated the last rodeo for Mickie James, and I love the back and forth they had, and Mickie going all out for on Chelsea, and then we had Diana get involved, and I think the referee saw it the first time, but he kind of let it go at first, and then the second time when it happened, she was placing Chelsea's hand on the ropes to help her out during that pin, and after that she got kicked out,
Yeah,
and
I think the open when Deanna first grabbed her leg,
yeah.
the ref was yelling at her, but Chelsea hit the move, the backbreaker, I think it was, that
Yeah.
she hit and immediately went for a pin. So the ref couldn't do anything because he had to go down to count the pin. And then when Deanna grabbed and put Chelsea's hand on the ropes, and he saw her do that, he's like, "No, no, no,
Mhm.
no! That's the second time now. You're done. Get out of here."
I also love that part when they're both setting up for the kicks on the apron at the same time, and they both fell down, little bits and pieces like that. And when they had that back and forth, of like Mickie was doing the kick, and then Chelsea kind of reversed it on her and took out the referee. And we just had that moment of Diana coming back, and just when Diana's about to just take out Mickie to help out Chelsea, here comes Taylor Watt to take her out, take her out of the equation, so that way Mickie can take on Chelsea, just the two of them. And after that, when Chelsea's doing the prettier, I was like, even though I thought this is not a way they're gonna end the last rodeo for Mickie, it just had me at the edge of my seat thinking this could have been it though, the way they played it off, which I really like that part of it. And Mickie just kicked out, and I love at the end how she just reversed it and won out of nowhere. And it's just, I wonder if there's something that Mickey's going to bring up later to Taylor, because she told Taylor last week, I don't want you out there. And she still went out there and took care of Diana, even though it helped Mickey in the end. But I wonder if she'll get that friction and be like, this is not what I told you to do, though, last week. And I wanted you to keep your word that I will be going against Chelsea and you wouldn't get involved in any way. So I wonder if we'll see that play on later on, especially because we got to see now that they're facing each other at Overdrive as part of the last rodeo tour that we have with Mickey. So I wonder if she'll bring that up next week to her as a kind of like a way to take us into their match, perhaps. But overall, I love the back and forth. We know for sure that Diana was going to come and assist Chelsea in any way she could. And Taylor coming in, I feel like just another way of having that story about for us and for Mickey's last tour, last rodeo match with her. But overall, pretty interesting in me. What did you think?
Yeah, no, it was a very solid match. It was the open definitely. I didn't expect Diana to get involved and get booted that quickly. I'm on
Mhm.
board with Barry here. I'm not a big Chelsea Green fan. Nothing she's done has really stood out as like excellent to me. Like her character work is solid, but her in ring, she is a very average wrestler as far as I've seen. And I feel like this match kind of ties in with her other Mickie James matches from earlier this year that she seems to do her best when with Mickie, and I think that's a credit more to Mickie than to her, that Mickie just elevates everyone she's in the ring with, which will be very evident next week if she's going in a match with Taylor Wilde, who we've
Mhm.
both been very critical of in her matches recently, that she's just not there in an in-ring capacity with some of the other top talents in the women's knockouts division right now. I think the other piece of this is we've got a lot of stories now that are running on very very short time coming into the Overdrive pay-per-view next week, that we've got um like Bully Ray and Moose has kind of been building, but really only just got the match announced tonight.
Mhm.
We had like this match for next week, and with Mickie and Taylor is going to happen, and they've been friends. They haven't really built any
Mhm.
friction going into this. So
No.
next week's Impact should be really interesting to see how we start kind of building up a little bit of friction and a little bit of anticipation for some of these matches. There's some great matches going to happen at Overdrive, and we'll do the rundown here once we get closer to the end of the show. But um, there's a lot that I'm still like, okay, like what's supposed to get me hype about this?
Hmm. Yeah, I
The
feel like
match
that's
itself,
the reason why it happens with Mickie and Taylor. Because I feel like this today is gonna give that friction next week, perhaps. That's what I hope, at least.
yeah. The match itself here tonight, though, um, the only really big things I picked up was how much I still hate the unprettier as a move. I feel like it's the worst move in all of professional wrestling, and the fact that Mickie won it with a roll up. She hit the Mick
Mhm.
DT while the ref was down, couldn't get the pin there, takes an unprettier, and then just gets a roll up, reversing a top rope drop kick into a roll through, which was an interesting way to get the pin on Chelsea, and can definitely understand why Chelsea was pretty upset about losing that way.
Very true.
Uh, Steve Macklin, still not happy. Speaking of people that aren't happy, he's backstage banging down Scott D'Amore's door, throwing chairs down the hallway. Apparently, Scott wasn't here tonight. I guess he took the night off or something because Tommy Dreamer is just casually hanging out outside Scott's office and confronts Macklin about throwing chairs, telling him to be a leader instead of throwing a tantrum. Um, Macklin takes offense, calls Dreamer a shell of a man I once respected. Dreamer says he'll get Macklin a match against him, to which
Mhm.
Macklin says he'll finally end Dreamer, and please, Lord, please let him end Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer needs to stop wrestling, work as a producer, work as a backstage talent, work as a trainer, do whatever you've got to do, Tommy. Stop climbing in a wrestling ring.
Hey, maybe he'll make him look good next week. You never know.
I need Macklin to tag him, bag him, and ship him across the sea.
Maybe he'll ship him off him. That's all we get to see from him. Now, one thing I liked when he was banging on the door, he just said, "Everybody's jumping the line." And I was like, "Yes, everybody's jumping the line in front of you. Finally, come in here, take some charge." It just,
Yeah,
I want him to have that title match. I think maybe Scott the one went trick or treating, and that's why he wasn't at least there.
must have been a little late trick or treating tonight. um, it, it's
Mm.
it's gonna happen. It's gonna be a match that happens. It's not a match I'm looking forward to. As Barry says, the match nobody
Mhm.
asked for. I mean, that's the case of what Dreamer and Bully against Bay and Austin last month too. Was the match nobody asked for, but apparently we got it. Um, who knows? Maybe Macklin will get taken out before the match. Maybe Dreamer will get taken out before the match. Maybe the match won't happen. We can only hope.
Not Macklin, please, just Streamer.
Speaking of Bully, that's where we went to next. Um, and I had written it down. I scratched it out, but my first comment when I saw Zicky coming out pushing Swinger in his ring was, "Poor Zicky." As Matthew Raywalt pointed out, I don't recall any time that somebody coming out for their own match was rolling somebody else out in the ring structure.
Oh, jeez. This is
And
one
then,
that I didn't ask for either.
yeah, I mean, it happened. It's the kind of silly stuff, as we talked about earlier with the
Mhm.
Gisele, the kind of silly stuff that Impact does do well. I did take a note that Zicky Dice feels like he's starting to look more and more like Sam Beal. So maybe he's just going to go back to the learning tree and Brian Myers will just confuse him for Sam. I don't know.
Oh my god! Don't get
Um,
that many ideas.
we got, it was an extremely short match. We got Swinger climbing in the ring trying to psych up Dice by telling him to get the tables, but then Swinger didn't know where the tables were. And I loved Matthew Raywalt pointing out if Swinger doesn't
Mm.
know where the tables are, he must not have watched a wrestling show in 20 years.
I love that line so much. It definitely made me laugh in a way I was not expecting when this match started. And just like he hasn't seen wrestling in how long? I think was it 25 or 45? I thought it was 45. But still,
Eh,
it was funny to hear where he just goes, "If you don't know where the tables are, you haven't seen wrestling, dude."
yeah, basically. I mean, who would they beat, Barry? Do we want them to beat Heath and Rhino? Do we
No,
want them to beat the major players?
no. In
I
a
mean,
week, that seems like a lot for them.
maybe they can win it on a Thursday and lose it on the Friday. I don't know.
Yes, thank you. That would make sense, but not right
Okay.
now. Not
Uh,
ever.
Ultimately, they get the table. They set up the table, and then Bully gives Dice a bully bomb and puts it away with one move. And as Bully is celebrating, we get Moose sneaking in, hitting Bully with the low blow, and then setting him up and spearing him through the table. It's something. It's they're building this story. I'm not a huge fan of the build to this story.
Mhm.
I'm not a huge fan of Bully or Moose. I was a Dudley Boys fan back in the day. I'm not massively like overhyped to see Bully back in the ring, but it's something. I'm happy to get the chance to see this incarnation of him. But this story is leaving something to be desired for sure.
This is like the same thing with like Speedball and Kenny. This just like feels like school busy work until he gets to face Josh, and it just feels like a fit. Like unlike Speedball and Kenny, this feels like such a filler to me, and I'm not a fan of either one of them. So I'm looking forward to them facing each other in any way either. I
It is a
Mhm.
first time ever match that they're promoting it as, and I'm never opposed to first time matches, especially when it's a younger talent like Moose getting a chance to work with a longtime veteran like Bully, because I think there's something Moose can learn from working a match with a guy like that, and I think it's good for Bully to get kind of his chance to put his stamp on some of the younger talent. I think that's what we're seeing. The tag match with Bay and Austin, that he got to work Bully Ray, a tag team great, one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time, getting a chance to work with guys like that in a tag team setting, him getting a chance to work with a Moose, him getting a chance eventually, likely, to work with a Josh Alexander, possibly with a Steve Macklin down the line here. Lots of people that Bully can work with that I think he can impart some veteran wisdom on.
Yeah, and I wanted to point out Barry's comment. Jeez. Bully's a big character who can use the mic in the ring well or something Impact needs more of. Yeah, that's very true. I feel like this is one of those people that whether he's a face or a heel, he catches your attention. He gets a reaction from you. So that's something a lot of people can learn from. It just like a Joe Henry who does it already so well. But yeah, other than that, it's just like in like a wrestling in a match setting. I'm not looking forward to this in any way for now. Maybe next week something will happen that will kind of make me excited for it. But other than that, I'm not looking forward to Moose and Bully.
Yeah. Um, After this match was done, we got the setup for a match for next week. We got a Sami Callihan promo where he starts out by talking about how he likes Violent by Design. He understands and appreciates what they're building, but they pissed off the devil. So Sammy has apparently taken a hostage, one of the yellow hoodies, who he calls an idiot NPC, which was a fantastic way to refer to these yellow hoodies because they completely are NPCs. Obviously, we revealed Angels and Khan as the two that actually mattered, and all the rest are just fillers
Mhm.
in the background. Um, he lays down the challenge for a rematch next week, in which we are going to have a first time ever match of Sami Callihan's design with the entire roster banned from ringside. Sami Callihan versus Eric Young in a Death Machines double Jeopardy match. And he lays out the rules as in this match, you have to make your opponent bleed and then go for the pin.
Mhm.
Kind of like a King of the Mountain, I guess. Sort of. But just another way. Instead of a pin and then climb the ladder, we got to bust you open and then pin you. Um,
Mhm.
Bust you open. Bully Ray busted open? Maybe Sammy Callahan's been watching far too much Busted Open radio. I don't know.
No, 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 no. He said he was reading a lot. That was how he started. He said, I'm reading a lot and I'm reading about people that can be convicted more than once. So that's why we're doing this match. And that's why it's called Double Jeopardy. Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's an interesting concept. I think Callahan and Young are two guys that have just that violent nature to them that it should be a really solid hardcore match. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I'm cautiously optimistic that it should be a really good Impact match. I thought when he started laying it out that it was going to be an overdrive match. I wasn't so certain about it as a pay-per-view for a first-time concept, but we'll see how it plays out next week.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be for Overdrive too, so I was expecting him to say it. And then when they showed the card for next week, then they just played it off. And I like that part that everybody's banned from ringside as well. But I feel like when usually the person that does the building for the match, I don't see them winning. So that's why I don't see Sami winning this match already. But I think it'll be interesting to watch it though and see how it plays out into Overdrive, perhaps, if not into the next pay per view, if they don't do it for Overdrive. But yeah, when I saw that, I thought it was going to be for Overdrive for the get go up until he said it.
Yeah. Couple mini promos here before we got to the main. Just quickly, Jordynne backstage. The only thing that really caught me from that promo was her mentioning that Gisele is going to learn there's a difference between holding the title and being champion. And then we got Chelsea storming out of the building. I think she put a sweater or a coat on, but was still just wearing her ring tights as she's walking outside, which was, I mean, at least put some pants on, girl. But I guess she's going home, and Deonna tries to stop her and ask her, like, where are you going? What are you doing? And I'm going home. What? I'm going home. And then she just left, and Deonna's just like, what just happened?
Yeah, we'll see her next week on SmackDown. I know. I love why she said that about just like going home, because I kept thinking like, if you don't go back to WWE, you call home the place where you had to debut 3 times already, and it's probably your 4th one by now. Sure. But I feel like it's just kind of like a weird ending to it, but we know why it's happening behind the scenes. But it feels like an odd thing to just do it this way, I guess. But there's nothing else they could do, I'm guessing.
They make a good couple, I guess. Mid Cardona and Average Green.
Well, she's gonna have a better career than he did over there.
Maybe. Then we got the layout for next week. So the only matches that actually got laid out for next week, we got PJ Black versus Black Taurus in the other half of the X Division tournament. We get Tommy Dreamer versus Steve Macklin in what they've dubbed an old school rules match, which I guess means there are no rules.
Yeah, they said no DQ in commentary.
Yeah. And then the Callahan and Young Death Machine double Jeopardy match. We laid out the Overdrive match layout up till now. We've got Heath and Rhino versus the major players for the tag team titles. We've got the Death Dolls, Taya and Jessica with Rosemary against Savannah Evans and Tasha Steelz for the Knockouts tag titles. We get Taylor Wilde versus Mickie James in a last rodeo match. We get Bully Ray versus Moose in a tables match. And we get Frankie Kazarian versus Josh in the Impact World title match. Now, without giving too much away, how are you feeling about this for next week?
I mean, we also get the winner for the X Division tournament as well. So just Trey versus whoever wins between PJ Black and Black Taurus. I mean, I like the card already. The only thing, like I told you, Ian, off air, looking at the card, I was going by titles and setting it up on my notes, and I kept thinking, interesting, the Knockouts title is not on the line on this pay-per-view. That's weird.
Hard to set it up when we had a title match still to play. So, before we got to the main event, though, we got a fantastic Frankie Kazarian video package. Absolutely fantastic. I think they've uploaded the entire thing on Twitter right now. If you go to Impact Wrestling's Twitter account, I'm pretty sure the entire video package is there. I recommend giving it a watch. I think it built the anticipation and the excitement for this match so much higher than I had for it. I have been very on the fence with Frankie as far as his chances of actually winning this match. This video package got me hyped for Frankie Kazarian in a way I don't think I ever have been, and excited at the possibility of him winning.
It felt like it tore me, because I love Josh as champion, but at the same time, just thinking, what that possibility, what if Cass wins, and then having this video package and the way they highlighted him and the people they had in the package. That we had Tracy, and the way she's like, we met and dated, and while he was here in Impact, and we fell in love here. We had our child here, and he grew up with like having so many aunts and uncles backstage, And the way they let's played it off is like he's been here long enough that this is family for him. And the way Scott Demore said he's family to me, and we had Saban talking about him and Gail, and I love the way everybody just talked about him and the way they highlighted his career in the background, and they call him, he's the pioneer of this. And at the end, what's the way that was where he's like, "Oh, what if I don't win? But like I have to win." And I love for like it gave me hope for him, but at the same time it tore me in half because I'm like, I don't want Josh to lose, but Cass winning, it sounds really cool at the same time.
Yeah, it's hard. I need you to decipher this. Can you decipher Barry's comment here for me?
But that's a double negative, which means it's a positive. Sorry, English major here. And Barry says, "Yeah, is that no DQ? Is that no? It's not a no DQ match. It's an old school rules match, which means you can't be DQ'd. But is it not a no DQ match? That."
I'm not even going to
exactly
ask.
how you explained it because
It's
I
an
don't even
old
know how
school
to.
rules match. I'm not old school enough to know old school rules, so I guess I just have to learn it with everybody else next week. That Frankie video package, though, I felt like Scott Demore at the end of that package, talking about I don't know who's going to win. I don't know who I want to win, but one man's going to leave as Impact World Champion, and the other is going to leave absolutely heartbroken. And then we ended on Frankie sitting in the bleachers saying, if I don't win next week, I need to win.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. That moment of Frankie Kazarian, I feel like this, if he doesn't win next week, I feel like this could be Frankie Kazarian's last rodeo in Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, I thought about that too. And the video package just really gives you that message as well.
Yeah. The main event, this is your baby. The knockouts are always your baby. I'm gonna let you take us away on the end of the show here. Give us the rundown. Give us your impressions, your takeaways, everything that you've thought of this Gisele and Jordynne match and what came after.
I don't know if you saw this part when this is when they had the bully promo as well before this happened, and that's when he called out Moose for overdrive and he announced it as a tables match.
Right.
I like how they said it during the break, but if you're like me watching on YouTube, you don't have any breaks. So that's it's funny to see it because we only have video packages and like commercials from Impact, but we don't have like regular commercials. So when they say, "Oh, during the break," I'm like, "What break? I don't get one," but sure. So I guess they gotta change the wording on that in some way. But this match, holy crap! I remember I think at the early this week you had sent me the tweet from Gisele, and Gisele had said this is like my first main event in Impact, and I thought that was interesting because I never saw that they had announced it as a main event. But like I told you though, I kept thinking, well, this is the championship on the line, and it's the Knockouts Championship, so it's that important that it could be the main event. So when I saw that it was announced the main event, I was super excited. This is I like unlike you, I hadn't seen a lot of Gisele. So this is to be her best match in Impact so far. I was so hooked. I love how even with Jordynne's power, she gave her so much. And I didn't know how to describe it. I still don't know how to describe it, but I like that she came at Jordynne with everything she had in any way, shape, or form through this whole match. And just like Jordynne would do one thing and then Gisele will come at her back again, do something else. And whatever happened, she would wait for a moment, stand back up, and still get back up and give it back to Jordynne as well. So I enjoyed how that back and forth was going on. I loved every bit of it. There were so many parts of just like, is it going to happen now? Because it just like they had so many parts that I was so interested in. They had me at the edge of my seat, even though I probably knew that Jordynne was going to win anyway. But still, they kept me interested through the whole match. And definitely the performance from Gisele tonight was just incredible. I feel like I had no words for it, but it's just amazing to watch. And yeah, I love the ending. I love having Jordynne come up and still win. And like I said, it just kept me thinking of like the match itself. And after the match ended, we see Jordynne going up on the apron celebrating her win, and she gets attacked from behind by Masha, who we haven't seen since Bound for Glory, and her loss with Jordynne. So she just hits her with a couple chair shots from behind, shits up a bunch of chairs on the floor, and just she hits a snowplow on the chairs with Jordynne as well. So That's just, I suppose next week they'll tell us that that's a rematch for Overdrive because the match is not even set yet. But I knew that we would. I think you pointed it out last week, if I wasn't mistaken, that we're thinking maybe Masha comes back before Overdrive and sets up that rematch. So I think this is it. But I think overall it was pretty interesting from beginning to end. I love this match. What did you think?
Yeah, no, even given how much of Gisele Shaw that I've seen both locally here, I watched a few of her matches in Rev Pro when she was over there and followed her now into Impact. Um, this is by far, I think, the best Gisele Shaw match that I've ever seen. And that's saying a lot because some of the matches I saw before she left Edmonton here were pretty fantastic as well, with one of our local talents, Kat Von Hees, who is also a fantastic strong woman in the frame of a Jordynne Grace. So I think that almost is something that Gisele would have been able to pull from going into this match, that she had to work with somebody so much bigger in than her in a Cat. That she was prepared for somebody to be stronger and more physically dominant like that. And she really did give it her all. I loved the stretch in the middle there where they were exchanging blows and Gisele was hitting Jordynne and Jordynne was just like, hit me harder. And then started every time Gisele would throw a forearm, Jordynne would just body slam her. And they went back and forth like that for a little bit in the exchange there. I liked the spot later in the match too, when Gisele climbed up to the top and started raising her hands like, I'm going to be champion, and how that cost her the momentum. And that really ultimately led to the finish too. That, and even Tom and Matt pointed it out, she's celebrating too early. She's getting ahead of herself. And I think that plays into a little bit of the immaturity and inexperience of somebody who's just coming into the scene and into the title picture there, that she's not following through. She's not finishing and then getting there. She's getting ahead of herself and letting herself believe she's already got it in the bag before she's got the 3 count. And so it was a nice little piece, and it played into last the match with Vexed as well, where she got distracted holding the title on the outside before they actually got the win.
Mhm.
So it's a nice little consistent character piece there that they've played throughout this whole build up to this match and into the match all the way to the finish. That why Jordynne managed to retain the title over her is because Gisele didn't finish the job. Not necessarily that she couldn't finish the job,
Mhm.
she didn't finish the job. And that leaves Gisele in a place where she still feels strong enough that she could come back later after a few matches to get herself back on track and have learned from this mistake and actually win the title down the road.
Yeah, I also love during commentary they gave us a lot of background on Gisele, and I love how they went. She has competed for 4 titles so far. She went for the Reign of the Reinas Championship, went for the Ring of Honor before. She went for the Knockouts titles, and now for the Knockouts Championship. And even later on, they said, "Oh, and people think of Diva. It kind of reminds them of like WWE Diva kind of thing," and they kind of get a background into that without mentioning WWE. And they just said, no, a diva, it's a first lady of the stage, and she demands the attention and to be the center here and the command. And I love seeing that because it just gives you a definition to Gisele's character and who she is. And I love hearing that on commentary while the match is happening. But overall, this is definitely my favorite Gisele match so far in Impact. And I feel like Jordan's no surprise she does very well every week. And anyway, so I'm not surprised by her performance, but just still just blew me out of the water with this one.
Just had to bring up Barry's comment there because I do think Gisele is on the fast track. I think she's doing amazing things. I'm always pro Impact and pro supporting the talent in Impact to excel and grow and be stars with Impact. I loved the AJ Styles and the Samoa Joes and the Christopher Daniels and Ty Valkyrie, Madison Rain, all of these people who stayed loyal and never went anywhere. Obviously, Taya did a lot later in her career now, flaked out and came right back. But I like the people who can stay loyal and don't necessarily need to go chasing that massive payday and are just happy to do what they love at a place where they're appreciated and can be the big star as opposed to getting lost in the shuffle. That if what Gisele wants is to go and be a big star on Raw or SmackDown, I'd wish her all the best to do it. But I would love to see Gisele become the face of the Knockouts division going forward here as well.
Yeah, I definitely like the way she was highlighted tonight. So I'm hoping she gets highlighted like that more often because it was nice to see.
Yeah. Just the Masha point as well. It definitely felt like we were leading into it as you had Jordynne backing up the ramp with her title, that something was going to come. But we talked about it a little off air too, that it kind of faked me out that I saw they pulled the credits trick where they put the credits up in the bottom of the corner and they're saying goodbye. You have Tom like, that's it. We'll see you next week. And then all of a sudden Masha comes out from behind the curtain with the chair and starts smashing into the back of Jordynne, takes her out, destroys her, piles up the chair, snowplows her, and then takes the title and licks the title. Like full blown all up the gold of the title. And I'm like, you don't know where that title's been. This is Jordynne Grace we're talking about. I wouldn't trust what she does with that title. And then the piece we haven't discussed yet, if you missed it, if you turned off the show too soon, when Masha was done holding up the title, we got a very quick cut back to the desert where Eddie Edwards buried PCO and a bolt of lightning, and the French Canadian Frankenstein is clawing his way back out of his desert grave, and Eddie Edwards better be looking behind his back. And that's how we ended the show. That was the show for tonight. Same question I pose you every week, Astrid. Who was your impact maker?
Definitely Gisele Shaw. She definitely won me over tonight. What about you?
I almost want to go with before the impact and give it to Moon, Sandra Moon, for the performance that she put on with Killer Kelly. But as far as the main roster went, I think, who else? Who else do I go with? I believe. Do you believe?
He made me believe tonight. I believe.
We believe in Joe Hendry. He is your new digital media champion. He is going to save us from all of the nastiness on the World Wide Web. And he is going to reign as a true champion and the answer to all life's problems.
Very true.
Anything else?
Just hoping one day we'll have him on here so you can sing it to him while he's on stream. Well, hopefully we'll make it happen one day.
We all want Joe Hendry to grace us with his presence on this stream. That's it for me. You can find me right there at Cody Defoe on the Twitch, on the Twitter. Give me a follow. Shout me out. Chat me up. Always happy to talk wrestling with anybody. And then every Thursday, right back here with you. We'll be back here next week for another episode of Making an Impact on Thursday night, where we'll be recapping next week's Impact, and we will be doing our special predictions episode leading up to Overdrive.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to go down the whole card, especially for this pay-per-view. And then the week after, Thursday next week, we'll definitely talk about it before we do Impact too. So we got to point that out. We're not doing a Friday show for this one, but we'll definitely talk about it on Thursday, the week after, and then talk about Impact right after that too. So stick with us because we're going to have basically a double thing for us heading into that week. For me, you can find me Tuesdays doing Taking Over with Parrish, which is part of All Elite Podcast. So follow them if you haven't yet, and subscribe because they got a fairly, I think, this past week, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And then here back on Thursdays with you, Making an Impact. And on the weekends, I write my NXT review with Women's Wrestling Talk. And like I said before, I am my YouTube channel. I have my episodes of Ladies Wrestling Showcase and my interview with Billy Starks. So yeah, watch out for this and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's where I have everything. Or if you don't watch us live, you can watch it on the VOD later, whether it's here on Twitch, on YouTube, or if you prefer a podcast platform. I have my stuff on my podcast platforms as well. So just you can find it anywhere basically at this point. But other than that, you can find me on my Twitter, which is Astrid Pizarro. And then I'm gonna see if I can do this correctly, like I did last time. I'm gonna
work on that. I'm gonna give a shout out to all of our friends in the chat again tonight, as I do every week. Barry, Ed, Mel, Bobby, Mark, OLE. Thank you everybody for joining us. We always appreciate the comments in there and that you join our conversation. Hope to see you again next week. We'll be happy to have you in there and happy to comment back on anything you thought of the show.
Mel. So let's see. I'm gonna try to rate Heel Kevin. I know he's one of those people that are doing he's a full-time creator, so I'm happy to support him. Hopefully I do it correctly, so I'll watch out for his stream and hopefully it works out. But other than that, we'll see you all next week, and thank you for watching. Thank you for staying here with us through the whole night. We appreciate it.
See you guys.
So good night.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and it's fade